Um, do you wanna hear one from the first book?
Yeah,
From
absolutely. Yes. Yes,
Okay,
absolutely.
okay, so once I started learning, even just a few sentences in Navajo in the very beginning, I didn't re couldn't really have a conversation. I'm just saying, "Hello, where do you live? How many sheep do you have?" And so forth, and "What's your name?" And I couldn't really say much in the beginning because it's so hard, and so but they warmed up to me so fast once I even just trying touch them, and because nobody tried, no white person really tried except the trading post people, and so there were several families that kind of quote adopted me, took me in, and not physically, but just invited me to their ceremonies a lot and stuff. And there's one family that was a native belonged to Native American church. That's the peyote. And it was illegal for white people to do that. But they invited me to my first peyote ceremony when I hadn't been there very long. And they told me how to dress. I had to dress completely traditional with the velvet top and the satin skirt and the woven band and the conch belt and all the squash blossom necklace and the turquoise. And I mean, I look like I was ready for Navajo prom. I looked really, and I had that tie in the back where it's called sillesh, and they tie it with yarn. And I looked in the mirror, I couldn't get over it. And so, um, anyway, my Navajo mother, she told me to call her Shima, means mom. And so Shima said she was going to sit next to me and she whispered to me what to do and stuff. And so, and so she had explained how the whole thing works and everything. And there's a road man, it's like a medicine man, but it's called road man, that sits facing the east where the door is. And then we're in a circle in a teepee. Why in a teepee? Navajos don't live in teepees, they live in hogans. It's because the peyote ceremony was borrowed from the Plains Indians during a they used peyote ceremonies during a time of horrible hardship where many of them were murdered by white people and just decimated. So out of desperation, they started doing these peyote ceremonies in their teepees. And so that's why in the summer they use teepees, the Navajos, and hogans is where they really live, in hogans. So we were all in a circle, and there's several stages of what happens. And the ceremony was for a sick baby, and also for the war in Vietnam, and because so many Native people were dying in Vietnam, and so what I was focused on during the ceremony is that the baby started looking better and better and better. And I mean, the redness left the face and was making eye contact with the mom, was not fussy, was peaceful. I was so focused on that. And anyway, so first of all, um, the sacred tobacco, they used to climb up the San Francisco peaks. Now it's a ski area, sadly, but they used to get these special healing herbs, and we would smoke the sacred tobacco, and it'd go around, and you'd say a prayer. And when it was after my Shema, my Navajo mother, did her prayer, she handed it to me and she whispered, "Just pass it on." And I didn't do that. I don't know what possessed me. So I inhaled, and then I said a prayer in Navajo. I mean, I didn't speak Navajo then. And a prayer? How would I learn a prayer? Where did I learn that from? And so while this was happening, I had two voices inside of me. One voice said, "This isn't real. This you're hallucinating. This is part of the peyote. It makes you think this is happening. It's not really happening. It's not happening." And the other voice said, "Yes, it is happening. This is real. This is more real than real life." and then I passed it on, and everybody was staring at me. And then they have the water drum, and you hit the drum, and it makes a very ethereal sound because it's water in there in a metal container with a hide stretched over it, and you sing like, "Hey nay young yo," and again it came to the mother, and she sang a song, and then she said, "Pass it on," and I didn't pass it on, and I sang a song that I'd never heard before in Navajo. And again, those voices said, "No, no, that you're just making this up. This isn't really happening." Yes, it is happening. And so then it went on all night. And then by morning, the peyote had started to wear off, and we all filed out. And then we kneeled down to put our forehead on the ground and bless ourselves with the eagle feather fan, and then went into the adjacent s- uh, bl- block homes that they had. And some of the women had been up all night making a beautiful breakfast. We sat on the floor with a sheet, and it was mutton stew and fry bread and peaches for dessert. And the roadman was sitting at the end, and then we were all um, eating there on the floor. And he started talking to me in Navajo, and I felt so uncomfortable because I didn't know what he was saying. The peyote had worn off, and so, I just then I just felt so uncomfortable. I said, "Yeah, you know, I don't really understand what you're saying." And everybody burst out laughing, and he said, "You really talked up a storm last night." I said, "You mean it really happened?" He said, "You bet. You betcha." And oh my God. So I could not, it did not fit my logical mind. So for years I never told anybody about it because I thought they think I made it up. They think I was crazy because this can't happen. But okay, so here's what happened. At one of the readings I gave, that's 5 years ago, the bookstore, local bookstore, Garcia Street, was jam packed, 100 people jam packed in this small place, and because I'm known here, I'm the doctor to so many people here. That's why. And so I told that story, and somebody said, "How do you explain that?" And I said, I can't explain it." And I said, "It took me years to have the nerve to even tell the story." And a guy stood up and he said, "I'm a quantum physicist and I can explain very easily what happened to you." He said, "All knowledge, past, present, and future, is out there, out there, out there." And he said, "We have no access to it because when we were babies, there was a lot of pruning done for different neurological pathways in order that we wouldn't go crazy knowing everything. So our brain created a small box to work in that was manageable, but with no access to everything out there. And with the peyote, it gave you a window of everything out there so you could access the Navajo language. And when the peyote wore off, the door closed." And I said, that that sounds believable. And it's nice it's coming from you and not from me. So that's the story.